You convince yourself that the only way she'll truly feel your absence is if you vanish completely. In your mind, silence becomes a kind of power. You believe that by stepping away, by cutting off all contact, you create a void she won't be able to ignore. But there's a truth buried underneath that assumption, one that no one really spells out for you. Silence doesn't affect her the way you imagine it does. And deep down, if you're honest, you already sense that. Because while you sit there counting the days, measuring the distance in silence, holding on to the hope that she's thinking about you, that she's feeling your absence, that she's missing what she walked away from, her world keeps moving. Emotionally, mentally, socially, she continues forward. You may believe your silence creates pressure, but more often than not, it simply creates space. And space doesn't always pull someone back in. Sometimes it makes it easier for them to drift further away. Before resistance rises in you, before you instinctively reject this idea, take a moment to really listen. Distance has its place. There are moments where stepping back can be powerful, but the way most men use silence isn't strength, it's retreat. It becomes a hiding place, an emotional shelter. They disappear because they're hurting. They withdraw because they're confused. They convince themselves that silence will somehow force her to recognize their worth. But hoping someone suddenly realizes your value isn't power. It's desperation dressed up as control. If you genuinely want to become a man who commands respect, who naturally draws attraction, who carries emotional weight, then you need to understand what actually influences her perception. And it's not silence alone. At its core, the truth is simple. What affects her most isn't your absence. It's your transformation. It's your ability to stand on your own, emotionally independent, grounded in purpose, moving forward with clarity instead of orbiting around her presence or absence. That's what creates impact. That's what disrupts expectations. Most men misunderstand this completely. They think attraction is something that exists on a spectrum between attention and silence. Either you give too much or you take everything away. But that framework is flawed. The real distinction isn't attention versus silence. It's neediness versus self-respect. It's emotional dependence versus grounded presence. A needy man chases. A wounded man withdraws. But both are driven by the same force. Her. One moves toward her. The other pulls away from her. Yet both are reacting to her existence. And reaction at its core is weakness. The moment your behavior is shaped by what she might think, feel, or do, you've already lost your center. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Women are highly attuned to emotional stability, not what you say, not what you promise. Stability. They feel it without needing explanation. They can sense when a man is rooted within himself. They can sense when he's seeking validation. They can even sense when his silence is strategic rather than authentic. And when silence is used as a tactic to provoke, to manipulate, it doesn't build attraction. It erodes trust. Real attraction doesn't come from disappearing. It comes from becoming someone whose presence carries weight. This dynamic exists because many men tie their identity to the relationship itself. When she pulls away, loses interest, or leaves, everything shifts. Their routines collapse. Their focus disappears. Their emotional state becomes dependent on her responses, or lack of them. And without her, they feel disoriented, unsure of who they are. So they reach for the one thing they believe they can control: silence. They decide to go no contact. But beneath that decision, it's rarely about healing. It's about hoping she notices, hoping she feels the gap, hoping she comes back. But hope isn't a strategy. And more importantly, hope is an identity. Living this way comes at a cost. Your life pauses. Your growth slows. Your energy remains tied to someone who has already stepped away. Each day becomes a quiet negotiation with your own mind. Did she reach out? Did she notice? Did she care? And while you're caught in that loop, you're not evolving. You're waiting, waiting for validation, waiting for closure, waiting for her. That's the trap. So what's the alternative? You stop performing absence and you start embodying presence, not presence in her life, but in your own. You immerse yourself in your direction, your purpose, your daily actions. You stop trying to communicate through silence, as if it's some coded message she needs to decipher. Instead, you communicate one thing through how you live. You're moving forward, not dramatically, not out of bitterness, not to prove a point, just forward. You rebuild your structure. You strengthen your body. You sharpen your thinking. You reconnect with the parts of your life that existed long before she ever entered it. Because the psychological reality is this: people don't feel the loss of someone who disappears and waits. They feel the loss of someone who grows beyond the space they once occupied. That's why the man who shifts the dynamic isn't the one playing games. It's the one who evolves. There's a type of man that rarely gets talked about. He's not loud. He's not performative. He's not trying to dominate attention or please everyone around him. He operates from something deeper. He wakes up with intention. His days are structured around progress, not distraction. His time is valuable, and he treats it that way. His attention isn't given freely. It's directed with purpose. He doesn't chase conversations that lack reciprocity. He doesn't beg for explanations or try to force understanding. He accepts reality for what it is, and then he builds anyway. When someone walks away from him, he doesn't collapse, but he also doesn't become cold or resentful. He recalibrates. He adjusts. He continues forward. That's emotional strength. That's self-respect. And that kind of man becomes difficult to replace, not because he tries to be, but because his life carries gravity. His presence adds something meaningful. When he leaves, it's felt not because he vanished, but because of the substance he brought. What many fail to realize is this: women remember emotional stability. They remember how it felt to be around someone who knew who he was. But they also remember when that stability broke, when he became reactive, uncertain, dependent. So when you focus on rebuilding that inner stability, you're not doing it out of revenge or to win someone back. You're restoring one of the most attractive qualities you can possess: groundedness. Now, let's make this practical. First, stop monitoring her life. Stop checking her social media. Stop analyzing every post, every story, every update as if it contains hidden meaning meant for you. It doesn't. That behavior is a form of emotional addiction, and every time you engage in it, you reinforce the attachment. Second, take control of your time aggressively. Idle time feeds overthinking. It creates space for emotional spirals. Fill your days with purpose. Train harder. Work deeper. Learn skills that build over time. Your life should be expanding so rapidly that nostalgia struggles to keep up. Third, rebuild your social environment. Surround yourself with people who challenge you, who push you to grow. Isolation fuels obsession. Momentum destroys it. Fourth, develop real boundaries. If she reaches out again, one day, you don't immediately drop everything. You don't rush back into old patterns. You observe. You listen. You decide. Because the man you're becoming doesn't accept the same chaos recycled. He expects alignment, consistency, respect. And if those aren't present, he walks away without drama, without resentment, just clarity. Now comes the question that lingers in the back of your mind. What if she never comes back? That question reveals something deeper. It shows that you're still tying your worth to her decision. But the real shift happens when you understand this. Her return isn't the victory. Your growth is, because when you become disciplined, focused, emotionally independent, your world expands. Your confidence stabilizes. Your identity becomes bigger than one person, one relationship, one outcome. And ironically, that's when people begin to feel your absence. Not when you disappear into silence, but when you outgrow the version of yourself they once knew. That creates real psychological impact. It forces reflection. Who is he now? Has he changed? Did I misjudge him? Did I lose something valuable? But here's the key. You're not doing it for those questions. You're doing it because staying the same is no longer acceptable. So you stop waiting. You stop relying on strategies designed to provoke reactions. You stop building your life around whether someone notices you or not. You build it around your own standards. And something shifts. Your energy changes. The way you speak changes. Your posture, your decisions, your mindset, all of it becomes sharper. You stop chasing validation because you're too focused on creating value. And that energy becomes magnetic, not because you're trying to attract anyone, but because people naturally recognize alignment when they see it. That's the man who wins in the long run, not the one who mastered tactics, not the one who disappeared hoping to be missed, the one who became steady, the one who rebuilt himself with intention, the one who turned pain into fuel instead of identity. So if you're sitting there wondering whether you should text her, whether you should stay silent, whether you should wait longer, you're asking the wrong question. The real question is this: what kind of man are you becoming through this? Because pain does one of two things. It either shrinks you or it shapes you. One path leads to waiting. The other leads to building. And the moment you choose to build, you take your power back. Not from her, but from the version of yourself that lost direction. You remember your standards. You reconnect with your discipline. You recognize that your life was never meant to revolve around someone else's approval. You're not here to beg for attention. You're not here to manipulate emotions. You're here to build something meaningful, something that reflects your highest potential. And when you do that, everything changes. Your relationships improve. Your confidence stabilizes. Your decisions become clearer because you finally understand something most people never fully grasp. The strongest position you can stand in is self-respect. So let go of the silent games. Stop counting days as if no contact is some hidden formula. Instead, become someone whose life continues moving forward, regardless of who stays and who leaves. That's what creates real impact. That's what commands respect. That's what restores your identity. You are not defined by who walked away. You are defined by who you become after they do. So stand up, refocus, rebuild, and understand this clearly. You're not waiting for your life to begin again. You are the one who begins it right now,